I do have a desk, though. It's made of mahogany. Mahogany.
Okay.
Welcome, your immensity, your monstrosity, your grossness. Episode 382 of an Unearthly Podcast, streaming live on the 9th of December 2020 and featuring The Sunmakers, written by Robert Holmes and starring Tom Baker as the Doctor, Louise Jameson as Leela, and John Leeson as the voice of K9. I am Bill Sylvia, the Man in Black, and with me are Randy Ronson McCulloch.
You noticed how that went from being like your graciousness down to your grossness at the end?
Mad Matt Winchell,
I'm now over 30 hours on Warlock.
and Thomas Fireheart.
So that's what Richard O'Brien would sound like if he sucked up helium.
You know, also, there's a little bit of Mr. Burns in him.
Yeah, a little bit in the mannerisms.
Yeah.
Mm.
But he didn't have a Smithers.
Well, he kind of did. That was
He-
the other guy.
Yeah, that was the other guy with the dome hat.
Kind of. They
Anyway,
weren't. They weren't.
Smithers, I didn't hear the screaming of the innocent.
So, how's your week been, everybody?
Not too bad. I went from having a weird, I don't know what the fuck was going on, but one of my legs was playing up, and then I worked 2 full days, and by the end of the second day, it decided to shift legs, and now it's gone. So it's like, okay, that sorted itself out.
I get occasional bouts of restless leg syndrome where I'll be like lying here and then it just feels like a combination of a pinch and electric jolt goes through my leg and it just has to jump.
Oof.
But it's, it's not like cases where it's happening constantly. It'll happen like once or twice and then I won't see it for months.
I just have wiggly feet, usually because I'm listening to music a lot, and then my family questions why I'm doing it so much. I'm like, I'm listening to things.
Of course, I am eagerly waiting for tomorrow and the release of Cyberpunk 2077. Technically, it's out now, but my copy is in the mail and won't come until tomorrow.
I was going to say, I thought it came out already.
I'm in the middle of finals, so I've been alternating between working on presentations, take-home tests, and grading. Grading.
How's your first semester been there in Ohio?
It's been pretty good. It's still really weird the fact that we haven't, normally by now I'd have been in the same room as most of my classmates and gotten to know each other in that way, or just seen each other in the psychology building doing research. Instead, I pretty much know the people in the group chat that I've had since August and kind of just barely know the other people that from when we talk in like actual class required conversations, and that's about it.
Is there a part of you that's just like, I could have done this from home?
I mean, rent is cheaper out here, so
So there's that thing at least.
right. So yeah, if it weren't for the fact of my sister moving out and my mother dying, within that 1 year, then I might feel otherwise. But one way or another, it was going to be a new beginning. So
Still, all things considered, this has got to be an interesting case study going on right now if you're going into
Right.
psychology.
yeah,
Yeah, But, I'm wondering how many college students do feel that way.
Mm-hmm.
I've moved 2,000 miles for this. I could have
Mm.
done this from my bedroom of my parents' house.
Mm.
Because, yeah, it's just nobody's holding classes. At least nobody smart is holding
Right.
public classes. It's all online at the moment. So, and I'm wondering, once this is over, is it going to revert, or is this the way things are going to be, or is e-education going to be the way of the future?
A lot of colleges are seeing a lot of enrollment dropping because people are so frustrated about. I mean, partially it's just because people are so stressed out and it's hard to take classes anyway. But a lot of people are really like pissed off about paying tuition for virtual classes and not being able to go and party in person and everything. So, uh, just for monetary reasons alone, colleges are doing, and this is part of the problem because this caused a lot of spread in September and October. But colleges in general really want to get back to normal as soon as possible.
Yeah, it's
Well,
probably costing them money.
a lot of them weren't set up for this. They
Yeah,
Mhm.
during the spring, pretty much none of them were. Maybe like there are the schools known as online schools. Most of them not being the highest quality, some of them pretty good. But the rest pretty much were just hit out of nowhere and just fumbled uh, the best they could. During the fall, a lot more schools were prepared for it, but the professors, you can tell, they're just like they're doing what they have to do, but they're not comfortable. They're like just hoping it's over as soon as possible.
I would not be surprised that, in 20, 30, 40 years this becomes a standard practice, as human beings tend to seem to be meeting in person much and much and much less, and
Mhm.
just suddenly we won't have friends, we'll just have people we know on view screens.
But yeah, I never really thought of teachers as performers before. But the reaction that a lot of professors, in particular, I've teachers, I think a lot more have been forced to do things in person, whereas professors have older students that are more likely to be from home. But the reactions I've seen from a lot of professors are very similar to the reactions I've seen from like late night talk show hosts and other people that normally perform in front of in front of an audience. So
Yeah,
they
well,
really rely on that give and take of
yeah,
being in person.
it's not
That
it's not just the
that
give and
cringy,
take,
awkward silence.
it's the ability to read the crowd.
Hmm.
Hmm.
And I mean, they're reading it for different things. The entertainment guys are reading, are they reacting, are they laughing at this? Professors are they paying attention, or are they spacing out?
Are they paying
Well, that's I
attention,
mean,
and
like
actually, do they have any questions?
mhm. I also mean they talk about like the energy of the room and things like that that a lot of them rely on.
Yeah,
Which,
well,
as somebody who's done YouTube work, I've long since gotten used to being by myself and talking to a computer, uh, but they have not.
case in point, what we're doing right now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, we've gotten a lot of
Mm.
energy among ourselves out of this podcast, just doing it among the bunch of us. But
Right.
Mm.
yeah, I can see where somebody's used to, having people react to what they're saying, being completely lost. Like I watched
Mhm.
Bill Maher shortly after, shortly after social distancing started, and he was completely fucking lost
Mhm.
because he couldn't time his jokes.
I saw a couple of the late night
Yeah.
hosts trying it, and it's just like, oh god, kill me
Yes.
now. It's
Yeah.
cringy watching them try the joke, and,
Mhm.
even they look like, did it even hit? Oh god.
Yeah, Seth Meyers and Stephen Colbert spent the first month alternating between trying to figure out the tech issues and trying to figure out how to perform without an audience laughing at them.
Yeah, and
Mm.
that was Bill Maher's issue too. Is
Mm.
he's a comedian. He's used to people laughing at what he says. So
Yeah.
he says it, waits that beat, crickets, and
Mm.
then he gets that nervous look.
Yeah. The
Now I
I
imagine
feel like
really bad comedians have probably been thriving because they're used to a silent room.
Yeah, but nobody's paying attention to them anyway.
yeah.
Ouch.
Uh,
A thousand YouTubers just cringed.
Yeah. I feel like specifically with Stephen Colbert and Seth Meyers when I've watched their stuff and you can hear like the people behind the camera laughing, it's like, okay, now they're just like, okay, my audience is the crew.
And I mean, and part of like that, it wasn't that way the first month, and I think that's why they
Yeah.
started doing things like asking their wives to hang out in the room when they filmed from home and things like
Right.
that, so
Yeah.
that they would have somebody to make eye
Somebody
contact,
there.
somebody to laugh on occasion, somebody to ad lib
Mm.
off of.
Yeah.
Anyway, on tonight's show, we've got birthdays, and we've got some news. Then we've got looks like one piece of geek talk. I'm not sure what the hell it is because it's listed under other.
Comic book.
Then we've got our episode summary, our review, our final thoughts, and our ratings. So let's get into it, shall we? We have 4 birthdays this particular week, starting with December 6th. Saw the birthday of Noel Clarke, who played Mickey Smith from 2005 to 2006. And again, briefly in 2009. He turned 45.
God, I'm waiting for him to get gray hairs and suddenly feel old.
It's getting there. I mean,
I noticed his hairline is definitely receding a little bit.
It's been over 15 years since Doctor Who came back.
I
Yeah,
think I've seen him with some gray. I forgot if it was hair or beard, but it's
I
possible.
think it was a little bit of facial hair, but the most recent picture I found this time is all black hair again, so I don't know.
That's true. I think it's usually the beard that goes gray first.
Also, on the 7th is the birthday of Wendy Padbury, who played Zoe Harriet from 1968 to 69. She turned 73.
Second Doctor companions are only in their 70s.
The 9th, today, sees the birthday of Eric Sayward, script editor from 82 to 86. He turned 76. So he was only 3 years older than Zoe and was working on it many years later.
Mm-hmm.
Also, the same day is the birthday of Waris Hussein, the director from the early days of Doctor Who, 63, 64. He turned 82. So happy birthday, Noel, Wendy, Eric, and Waris. Going down into episode news, we have new pictures from the upcoming Christmas special, or New Year's special, I should say. I corrected myself. New press photos released from it. It looks like we have the Doctor going to from her cell.
Right.
Then we have, more cell shots. That does look like a detention center.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Not sure what the other one there with the her looks like going through stone. You would think that would not be in the same shot as the other ones here to the left, because that looks like all metal.
Maybe that's her escape. I don't know.
She dug through it with a spoon.
You're right. She Shawshanked.
All right, and then we see some of the Daleks on patrol here, working with the Prime Minister, apparently.
Oh, that's right. There's supposed to be a Prime Minister plant.
Oh yeah, it's Victory all over again, apparently, where they're
modern Victory.
And look who's behind it. One of our least favorite assholes from Arachnids in the UK.
Yep.
I always knew he'd come back.
Had a feeling that they might reuse him, yeah.
Yeah, the way that episode ended, it kind of felt like it was a dangling thread.
Well, nice to see that, unlike Moffat, Chibnall's actually
Chibnall's actually trying to plan something for some characters.
Whereas Moffat would set stuff up and then completely forget about it. And then we've got some of the crew confronting our asshole Trump wannabe dude.
Mm-hmm.
And
And I think we already saw in the trailer that he pretty much blows them off.
yeah. And then we see them at work. And I think that one has a freaking Dalek.
Naked Dalek.
Yep.
Yeah, Squiddly Dalek about to jump on them.
Mm-hmm.
And then a guy in what looks to be that Chinese or Japanese.
According to the subtext, it's Chinese above the image.
It's kanji of
Mhm.
some kind, so it's
Yeah,
hard.
but-
it says in
well,
text
the-
above the
the-
image, it's
yeah.
in Chinese.
Yeah, the caption gives the Chinese translation. So
Of danger, do not enter.
So there we go. Those are all the pictures we have thus
Mhm.
far.
So they're not releasing any promo shots with Jack yet.
Not
no,
yet.
there might be another trailer like a week before it happens.
True.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
But
I figure the good shots with Jack are probably going to be spoilers, which we don't want. We don't
Yeah.
want major plot spoilers. These are good in that it looks like it's all from Act 1, I think, at least the stuff on Earth. So it's good for ramping up tension, but it's not really giving away how they solve problems.
Yeah.
of course, the bad part about us is that means that when that comes out, we're going to be on break. Because we will be breaking between the week of Christmas and New Year for, holiday reasons.
Right.
All right, so moving on to Series 13 news. Doctor Who has been spotted filming in Cardiff. This is the second time they were filming in Cardiff. The last time was in the end of November, where apparently they saw Sontarans in filming. Now,
one of these has Sontarans.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that was Monday. They saw the Sontarans.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, I see the potato
and-
helmets.
They apparently were also previously spotted on November 26th, so it looks like they took a quick break and are just finishing this episode.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
TARDIS, and there's Jodie.
Even the Sontarans aren't brave enough to go out during Black Friday.
But they're back filming again, and there's been a scene of Jodie and what is her name? Mandy coming out of the TARDIS that somebody took a picture and some video of. Apparently, they run to a house and then realize they're at the wrong house. Not exactly spoiler territory.
Right.
Yeah.
Also spotted filming at the same time somewhere on the sets is apparently the Weeping Angels. Honestly, I'm not sure how I feel about that.
Looks like that was the next day.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah. Apparently, the Weeping Angels are in this episode that they're filming, which I believe they said was like episode 4. So,
Interesting.
Interesting. I don't know how I feel about that, as I am not overly fond of the Weeping Angels.
At this rate, yeah, I'm not particularly fond of them either. It's just
I think
interesting. I want to know what they're going to do. Maybe they
I
will
think
course correct. Who knows?
Mhm. I think it partially depends on which version of the Weeping Angels we get, considering we've had like 3 by this point.
That's kind of my issue with them.
And
Yeah,
they were all
that's
a
They
problem.
were
They were all written by the same writer.
Yeah, that's even a bigger problem.
Mm-hmm. Is they were all the Weeping Angels were Moffat's children, and he kind of abused them horribly.
Yeah.
So now someone else, because I'm pretty sure Moffat said he wasn't writing for Doctor Who ever again, is picking up the Weeping Angels and running with them, and I don't know what we're going to come out with. Anyway, From there, we're going to some spin-off news, and of course, the episode 4 of Daleks hit the internet. Episode 5 will actually hit tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Who here has seen it?
I've seen it.
I'm looking up image really quick, but I've seen it.
All right, what'd you guys think? Matt, go ahead.
Okay, I just finally got an image just in time. So what I thought overall, I keep forgetting what they're called. The other
Mechano-
robots.
Mechanoids,
The mechanoids. I always remember to M, but it's like, what was the name again?
or as one YouTube commenter put it, they put the annoyed and mechanoid.
But I think the mechanoids actually were even better in this episode, just for like the how things progress. We finally get to see another side of what they're able to do, which is essentially combine into a giant force field, and they are able to actually fend off the entity for a while. But even better than that is that they realize that the Daleks are completely shot to hell after having to deal with this entity now that they got rid of it. And they're just like, okay, yeah, we now know our greatest enemy is gone and dwindled down to only a few dozen. Go back to your Skyro. Go ahead. We'll be over in a little bit. Actually, a fairly decent plot twist, and it makes a lot of sense, especially for the mechanoids. I'm sure the last time dogs were there, they were pretty beat up and didn't want to do another frontal assault like that again.
All right, Bill, what did you think?
Yeah, I think it was definitely. I definitely like the way they took it with the mechanoids, where they're kind of passive at first, dealing with things as they come. But then once the threat is over, they're pissed off. They're showing it. They're like, okay, you just came, you fucked up our defenses, you caused us to lose a whole bunch of mechanoids. Now you're next on the chopping block. Here's your notice. I especially liked the what was the line? Oh, you're still alive, or something like that from the mechanoid queen. What I also found very interesting, and this was the one that I wanted to react to when I saw the trailer last week, but I didn't because it was only from the trailer, was the Dalek Emperor referring to himself as the last Dalek alive or whatever. Meanwhile, the strategist is sitting up there watching, which lends a lot of credence to our idea that I don't. Well, yeah, I think it was Randy might have been the first to verbalize it that's actually Davros. Um, but I do think some of the lines were very interesting in that he mentions that the way he survived this long was by not being noticed or by being forgotten by the Emperor, which makes me wonder if he has some sort of perception filter in place where the Emperor forgets he exists, but then listens to everything he says or something like that. So I imagine that whatever that line means, we're going to find out by the finale of this miniseries.
Which is tomorrow.
So that is the last episode. It's 5.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So we'll see if there's a plot twist there.
Yeah.
Yep. I agree with you guys. I liked the twist. They just barely managed to send the thing back to its own dimension, and then they're just like, nope, we're done.
Mhm.
You pretty much blackmailed us into this. We're pissed off. We're gunning for you. And yeah, there's a lot more credence that the strategist is more than he seems. But I've been saying that since episode 1.
Mhm.
And yeah, it just every episode has seemed to have just made that more and more and more and more. So I'm really looking forward to tomorrow's episode, which I happen to know the strategist is apparently putting the Emperor out as bait, because I did watch the preview.
Dun dun
He puts
dun.
the Emperor out as bait to save his own hide, which is a truly Davros thing to do.
Right.
Well, Davros doesn't care. He can make more emperors.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the thing. He tried to be Emperor. It didn't work out too well, so now he's trying it a little more subtle. That's my opinion.
That's a possibility, and that's actually a smart move for Davros. So that's going to get less likely get him fucked up like he has been previously.
Yep, try to be the power behind the throne.
Mm-hmm.
But
Lower
it's still
yourself slightly and let them take all the blame.
Mhm. All right. So that is all the news we have, except for Big Finish releases, which there are a few of. Out this week is Sixth Doctor, Plight of the Pimpernel, with Colin Baker and Nicola Bryant. Also out is the Seventh Doctor, Grey Man of the Mountain, with Sylvester McCoy and Sophie Aldred. And then finally, part of Time Lord Victorious is Mutually Assured Destruction with Paul McGann. All were released within the last week. And finally, free this week as a download from the Big Finish website is Sarah Jane Smith Season 1, Episode 1, Comeback. So that is all of our news. Go to Geek Talk, and I think that's yours, Matt.
So yes, I'm the One Piece. So I've talked about Blood Rim before. It's an independent comic made by an independent comic company, which is apparently slowly growing right now. So good on them. Blood Realm is a fantasy. It's a somewhat mature dark fantasy kind of setting. The first one we had this weird Smeagol looking guy, and I'm gonna share. I'm sharing the pictures on the stream, and I'll share them really quickly so you guys can get the idea. I'm using just the covers for this. Oh, bloody heck! Now I'm looking for Discord. I'm not seeing it there. So the first volume, and I'm going to clarify a few things because I found out what's been going on. They explain things a little bit more in the third act, which I'm leading up to here. So the first one, we get this golem-looking guy. He's found by these three women who are apparently some sort of silent priestesses for a goddess of light. And the reason why they have to remain silent most of the time is because their voice is literally their weapon. They decapitated a dragon at one point. They are fighting off these goatmen who are trying to destroy the last of the human race off this fantasy world. And they are seeking the heart of a black arts wizard, because they're worried that this artifact would cause the resurrection of the wizard. Very long story short, one by one the sisters do fall, leaving the weird little golem guy to be the last one standing, and he eats a small portion of that heart. We realize he has then afterwards some influence on the goatmen who were there originally to kill him, and what we figured out in the long point through Volume 3 is that he has a sway over anything he talks to a certain degree. But the majority of what he uses his magic for is to help protect the survivors, because there's something else happening in Volume 2 at the same time. And in Volume 2, we find out that there is this demon who was apparently sealed away a couple hundred years ago in the same nether-like world that the black magicians and witches and so forth get their powers from. And this demon has been sealed away in there, but has escaped from its prison and is seeking a host. To this, the goatmen secretly set up this wizard to be a part of their group, so that way they could sacrifice him to this demon, and the demon would have a host and finally be back in the physical world. As they're going through this whole story, they do mention that there was previously another group of people who once worshipped this holy divine light before as well, and they were called the Iron Wolves. They had a commander who fell in his battle against this demon, or at least disappeared apparently after the battle finished, but the demon was so weak that his people were able to capture him and toss him into the nether. But he gets free because of the sacrificing the wizard, but at the same time the demons set up the goat people to become essentially demonic mutants that would carry out their orders after they warp them into the monstrosities that they become. Kind of a almost an old gods kind of thing going on with that in particular. So we come to volume 3. I'll just make this a little bit easier because I'm trying to share all these images, but I'm just going to go with the cover I like the most, which is from issue 2. All these volumes are 3-issue volumes, by the way. They don't have volume 3 bunched up yet. It just finished, I want to say, a month ago. Because it's an independent company, they've been giving it breaks to decide whether or not the sales have been going well enough to keep going, and it's apparently been working for them. So in volume 3 here, the commander that went missing after the end of that big demonic battle comes back. It's about 1,000 years since his battle, and a majority of his continent has now become this cybernetic half-demon nightmare. It's almost on the level of Doom, but there's still more fantasy touches to it than there are cybernetic futuristic touches. And we make contact with the wormy guy from Volume 1. He explains what's been going on. The commander has to try to decide how he wants to go about this and what he's going to do. He also finds out there's at least one more dragon left and decides that he's going to make a run for it because he also involved in all this is the wormy guy apparently had a daughter in the couple hundred years time that passed. The magic in him, of course, helping him, but also apparently being shared with his daughter. And she was going to be the big replacement for her father in the near future, but then she was kidnapped by the demon, apparently, and imprisoned. So it's up to this commander in the final arc of the story to decide what he's going to do and how they're going to actually defeat the demon. And I guess I'll leave it at that. That's the majority of the story, and it's kind of a nice end cap. In 3 volumes, they've managed to give a pseudo backstory to everything that's been going on, try to come up with decent explanations, have a long history, all considering, because this happens in a span of 1,000 years. And where it happened to all these different races and where things kind of end up at the end of this particular long story. The artwork, the reason why I feel like I needed to share the artwork of the covers is because it is the same artist throughout. So this stuff is visually more or less the same inside as it is outside. The only other person Actually, there's occasionally a second person, and there's occasionally not a second person on some of these covers, so I'm thinking it's a letterist if the guy's having an issue or something. I don't know. Or maybe it's a guest artist for a couple pages here or there if he couldn't keep up. But the majority of it is all written and drawn by the same guy. I've been quite enjoying it, so hopefully he has more plans for a 4th volume if he does decide to keep going. Otherwise, it's a good place to end it.
Okay, are you done?
Yep.
All right. That's Geek Talk. We're up to the episode summary. We're actually way ahead of schedule tonight.
Happens.
So I believe that's you, Bill?
Yep.
Yes, it was. All right. Timer's ready.
Right. Okay.
All right. Starting in 3, 2, 1, go.
Right. The episode begins with a local named Cordo speaking to a tax collector called the Gatherer at his fine mahogany desk. Cordo needs to pay the taxes for his father's death, which have gone up without his knowledge, and will require him to go from working 21 hours a day to 24 hours a day until he can pay off the extra plus interest. The TARDIS lands on Pluto, the doctor telling K9 to stay behind because it's no place for a dog, though the climate turns out to be a bit different than he expects. The doctor and Leela come across Cordo, who's now planning to jump off a roof because of his circumstances. I don't know who would pay his taxes in that case. The doctor physically pulls Cordo back and interrogates him about what's going on. And Leela suggests that the working classes rise up and slay the ruling class. You know, as you do. The Gatherer finds that the TARDIS has illegally landed, and he becomes excited by the prospect of collecting the fine. Cordo insists that the doctor and Leela join him in running due to the strict regulations against being in the sunlight. Cordo then decides to join an underground community of refugees. The refugee leader, Mandrill, takes Leela hostage and sends the doctor and Cordo on a mission to prove their worth. K9 leaves the TARDIS to find the doctor, which leads the Gatherer and his assistant to find the doctor, whom they mistake for a miner, and believe that he's a smuggler preparing the Undercity for a rebellion. The doctor gets captured and taken to the correction center, where the doctor speaks to another prisoner and finds that they've been producing chemicals to induce anxiety in the workers while giving an antidote to the ruling class. In fear of the doctor becoming a martyr, the Gatherer releases him, gives him some money, and puts a tracker on him. Leela, Cordo, and K9 undertake a mission to free the doctor, but he's already been released. However, Mandrill decides that this means the doctor's a spy, and he decides to torture him for information. Cordo gets back in time to stop him, but Leela's been taken prisoner in the process. The doctor riles up the refugees for a workers' revolution to save Leela. This leads to the doctor saving Leela and accessing the PA system to announce that the revolution succeeded, causing a mob to throw the Gatherer off of the roof. The doctor meets the collector, who is in charge of everything, the Gatherer's superior, essentially, where the collector reveals that he's a Usurian, which the species that now rules humanity by terraforming planets and taxing the populace in return. When the resources have all been stripped from Pluto by the workers, the Usurians will abandon humanity and leave them to die on what's left of Pluto, which has already happened on Mars, except they were able to move to Pluto after. The collector reveals his plan to poison the air to stop the rebellion, which causes the human security guard to hesitate just enough for the doctor and Leela to stop them from doing so. The collector then retreats to his natural form inside his life preservation chair, leaving the humans in charge, who the doctor encourages to recolonize Earth, and then he and his companions return to the TARDIS.
All right. I assume that was a stop. So that
Yep.
was 3 minutes, 37 seconds.
Oh, wow. I had my notes were long enough that I was sure that it was at least 6 minutes.
Ta-da.
I was here trimming from it wherever I could because I was like, these are way too many notes.
Nope, apparently not. All right, so let's talk about what we liked about the episode. And Thomas, you're first.
I guess I like the fact that even though the inspiration from this story was just Robert Holmes having a shitty experience with taxes, that it could have, to a point, it could have just been like, our taxes in general are shit, and instead it's more, at least the vibe comes off as it's just like anti-capitalist, ultimately, of just like these people are being taxed to death more so than just taxes bad.
All right. Matt?
Which I don't think I liked overall. I liked the what do you want to call it? The a non-set, like the location shooting. They had a lot of location shooting on this. They had a little building. They had a couple of hallways that were definitely on location too, and so forth. They used a lot of decent on location shooting for some good portions here and there. In particular, when they needed larger hallways and when they needed that rooftop. And there was a lot done in those big hallways, vehicles and everything running around.
All right. Where did they film exactly? I know it was in Bristol.
Yeah, apparently the rooftop was in Bristol. Where are those interiors from?
Let's find out. I can do that. Season 15, The Sunmakers. Actually, some of it was apparently the former HD and HO Will's tobacco factory.
So a formal factory. Okay.
Yeah, it was actually inside the building they were shooting the rooftop of.
Ah, yeah,
Some of
that makes
some
sense.
some of the other interior shots were done in the Camden Town Deep Tube Station.
Hmm.
I think those were the ones that were doing the under
Yeah,
tunnels.
Oh yeah, the under tunnels.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like especially that one bit in like episode 4 where they initially help to start a revolt. Seems like that was probably there.
And then most of the rest of it was done at BBC television. So
Mm.
All right. Yeah. They used that building very efficiently, and they used one other location for some of the more boiler room-esque areas of the episode.
yeah, a lot of that I think was probably done at BBC television studio.
Hmm.
I know all the rooftop scenes were done in that one at that tobacco factory, and then some of it was done in the tube shelters. But as for the rest of that interior stuff, I can't find that locations.
Hmm.
Those might have been done in like spare portions of the BBC building.
That's possible too.
Yeah, because I remember wondering that where they had the scene where Leela and the two guys were trying to sneak back to the resistance.
Right.
Yeah, and those giant hallways with the vehicles and everything.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I was
actually, I noticed how white those hallways are, and I happen to recall that might be BBC, just that it's like backstage somewhere maybe, and it's just the long hallways they had normally empty.
I was wondering that. Yeah.
It's a distinct possibility.
Anyway, Bill, what did you like about the episode?
I like that there was a lot in this episode for Leela to do. In a lot of stories, they're just kind of generic Doctor Who stories where the only thing Leela does differently than other companions is kind of get scolded for being too violent or what have you. Where this episode, she really, she was able to, there was that fight when they tried to actually kill her because the Doctor hadn't returned fast enough, and similar scenes like that where she could really show off her character in ways that would have been very different for any other companion.
Yeah. Plus, like, if she's scared at all, or at least scared more than she would reasonably be, they've got the excuse built in of there's this anxiety shit being.
Yeah,
Mhm.
they literally had a conversation about that. She's like, why am I scared? I shouldn't be scared right now. And I feel like a lot of companions that would have just the fear gas would have just meant they were screaming all day, but Leela's not that sort of companion.
Yeah.
Yeah, when she realized fear was just in the air, she's like, nope.
No, fuck that. I'm better than this, and kept marching on.
Yep.
Mm.
All right. Well, I really liked a lot of the secondary characters, to be honest. A lot of the resistance members, yes, they were harsh, coarse, assholey people, but they kind of had to survive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Shout out in my book goes to oh crap, I've forgotten his name again. One of the actors in there I'm actually very familiar with, and this was before I'd seen him in other work. Would have been Michael Keating, who played Gaudry, kind of the number 2, the one that basically is the one that tells the guards they're on strike. He would later go on to star in Blake 7 as Villa for like almost the entire series.
And by the looks of it, it might have even been directly him working for Doctor Who that got him the Blake 7 job, because apparently this is saying that basically a month later is when he got cast for Blake 7, so it could literally be that someone involved saw him in Doctor Who and was like, "Oh, this guy will work."
It's possible, but it's just like it was so nice to see him in a different role. And it was kind of different anyway. He was a lot braver in this than he was in Blake 7, let me tell you. Oh. All right, what did we not like about this serial? Thomas.
Huh. I guess, like, just for something to say, because it's honestly, this is one of those stories where I do have to really stretch for something off the top of my head. I guess I'll just go with the Gatherer to a point, because he's very much walking that line where it's like some bits he dips into, okay, this feels like a bit much
God
for
damn
what
it.
he's going for.
I take it that was yours as well.
Yeah, yes, it was.
He got to it first.
Especially as he's being thrown off the roof, like, this is a crime. You can't be here. I work for the company.
He failed to grasp the severity.
Oh, you're so gonna be fine.
All right, Matt, what about you? What did you dislike about the serial?
I have to say the one thing that did take me out of it a little bit is the constant yo-yoing of people trying to get back to the rebellion.
I don't know. That's a frequent Doctor Who trope.
It is a frequent Doctor Who trope, but that's been a frequent Doctor Who trope since the first Doctor. It's been over 10 years. And we're still going out to save somebody, come back and lose someone in the process, and going back to save them again, and again, and again, and again.
I mean, I do find it funny that Louise Jameson has basically said as much, that because her and Tom Baker at the time were on like a rocky ground as far as how they got along, that Robert Holmes was aware of that and then wrote into it that they're split up for a long stretch of time, so they didn't have to be around each other as much.
All right. Bill?
So since my main one was taken, I'm going to say that I'll go with, I guess, as my secondary. I think the Gatherer's assistant could have been a little bit more fleshed out. I mean, it makes sense, especially in the beginning where she's kind of just fulfilling her role. And you see that bit at the end where she's like, fuck it, I've had enough of this. And she joins the rebellion. But it would have been nice to see just a little bit more in between there where you can kind of just see more of how she's like, what the fuck?
Does she actually have a name? Or because I thought the guy just called her Madam all the time.
I do not know if she had a name, which is
Or
part of
does
my
she have a
point.
name that's very close to Madam? I don't know.
Was it the assistant?
Yeah, his assistant.
Marn. And apparently that role was originally supposed to be a man.
She did a good job of it for the limited time she got on screen.
But yeah, I wish there was just a little bit more where you could kind of see a little bit more of her build up toward joining the rebellion.
Yeah, I thought after some of her reactions in the boiler that the steamer, that she was actually probably going to switch sides pretty damn quickly, because she was just looking at the boss like, what the fuck? As he's carrying on about how angry he is, he didn't get to hear someone screaming for their life.
Yeah, I think I remember that. So yeah, I think a little bit more like that would have been nice. Or maybe
a little more to that in between would have been nice. Build up for her fine, just going, you know what? Yeah, the hell of it. Hi, I'm joining the resistance.
Or even a chance, like, with such a high-ranking defection, I don't think they made use of that. Like, she didn't give like any important information. intelligence that was useful in solving the plot or anything like that.
No, not
which
really.
would've been
She just
nice.
got a quick, like, 1 minute of being away from everybody else, and then suddenly got surrounded by a crowd and gave up.
Mhm.
Like in a funny way, a thing they could have added in is just making like a paid, like how little paid she was getting compared to the guy she's answering to.
Mhm.
Could have been an aspect of it, like I am not paid enough to fucking stand up for this. Fuck this, I'm out.
Or the way that the upper management there worked, I could have even seen the gatherer turn around and be like, "Well, my pay's been docked, and so half of that's coming out of your pay," or something like that. And just like
that would
she's
have
just
been
like,
good turning too.
and like he walks away, and then the camera just watches her face, like, what the fuck?
All right. So I'm going to have to pass because I don't think I have anything I particularly dislike about the serial. So we'll move on to favorite scene.
Mine's
Thomas.
just a usual thing.
Okay, I made sure to write this dialogue out so I actually got the line right. But it's like when the doctor's going off to do his thing and has been captured in that, and they're threatening Leela, and she just goes, "Before I die, I will see this rat hole ankle deep in blood. This is a
Yes.
promised thing."
That was a great scene.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's a very typical Leela thing. And this time, she's among people that she means it.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And the doctor's
she
not
has a
around.
motive, and she would have carried it out.
Yeah.
All right. Matt, favorite scene.
Oh gosh. The correctional facility. The doctor's in a straitjacket. He's monkeying around with utensils on a wall. And goes back to his table. Kind of starts to sit down a little bit. A guy comes in, puts helmets on both of them. That's apparently going to be part of their correctioning. That's about to happen. And the doctor tries warning him. First tries talking him up a little bit, and the guy just keeps ignoring him. And the doctor looks at the other guy that's in the room with him, and goes, Is he deaf or is he just not listening to us?" These guys, like, as far as he's concerned, we're below human, so he's just not going to listen to us at all. But he still keeps trying to talk up the guy anyways until he goes for the switches. And as he's about to go for the third one, he literally sits up in his chair and goes, "I wouldn't touch that if I were you." The guy stops for only a brief moment and starts to reach again. And he goes again, "I wouldn't touch that." Zap. Are you sure they're not deaf?
All right. Bill?
I'm gonna go with right before the scene that Matt said, where the doctor's like learning from the guy that's in the room with him, where he's like, "Oh yeah, where's what are you in? What are you in for? Curiosity. Oh, curiosity is a crime here." And then it goes on from the whole thought crime idea, which is borrowed from 1984. But then they go on to be to actually reveal also useful plot information, where the doctor learns about the anxiety-inducing gas and such that becomes brought up later. So I thought that was a good scene of balancing thematic elements, plot elements, as well as just giving Tom Baker the chance to eat some scenery.
All right. I think my favorite was when they released him from the correction facility. And the guy's like, was that? And it's like, "Oh, don't worry." And he drops the bag of jelly babies by his head. And the follow-up to that is when Leela rescues him, he realizes the doctor's been there because of the bag of jelly babies.
Although the funny thing about that isn't it after the doctor leaves that room, he then holds out the bag of jelly babies and the guy takes the green one out? Except the doctor says something else in the script.
He calls them humbugs.
Yeah, but then they turned out to be jelly babies.
Yeah, well, the doctor has, I don't know how many bags of jelly babies on his person.
Yeah, we don't know how many bags he's got. He's probably got as many as he feels he might need today.
So we've more or less selected about half of that episode.
Yeah.
Between the four of us.
It was a really good sequence of stuff he got in that particular episode.
Yep.
What can I say?
All right.
guess-
least favorite scene.
Ooh. Um. God. I guess because it's the only thing that's really coming to mind. Even though this one's more of a nitpick anyway. Um, just like the end of episode 4, because again, this feels like a thing where they decided it's almost like it was just enforced upon them that you have to end the episode with a scene with K9 where they're just, I don't know, just something about the dialogue in it just seemed a bit off to me or something. Again, it's like very nitpicky, but it just seemed like it didn't really particularly work.
Are you saying that the final scene back on the TARDIS?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it did
With
feel
the,
awkwardly ad-libbed, I almost
Mm.
feel.
with the
Yeah.
I'm sorry, K9, and then whatever. We'll get back to that chess game. And K9 is just like, I don't know if K9's eyes can roll, but it felt like they did in that scene.
I actually
Right.
felt like it was almost halfway towards a growl, like he's just getting sick of this. Either way, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it
Matt?
was a little bit weird.
Right. All right. Matt's scene?
My least favorite scene?
Yep.
Trying to think, I had one now. I had one and then it slipped me. Oh, okay, so there's one scene in particular, and I actually remember this scene from the last time I saw it, which has been almost 10 years, probably more. The scene in the tunnel where the people start rebelling against the one officer that's down there is about to open fire on someone for treason. All of a sudden, everyone jumps him. They start pulling him off screen, and then two of the main resistance members suddenly forcibly try to make it to center camera and try to give this snarky, really forced-looking laugh. It's just like, ugh, what the hell is this? And they do it again later, which makes it even me even go even more ugh. It's like, okay, I don't know what was up with the direction of these two, but oh boy.
Right. Yeah, so maybe the director didn't look at the script well enough or something.
That or they just didn't know how to direct these two, and there should have been shots that got slightly edited out.
Mm-hmm. So for mine, I'm going to say I know we recounted this one a little bit earlier, but I think it really is the worst scene for me because it pushes that character over the top, and that is the scene where the Gatherer gets thrown off the roof. Because before that, as Thomas said, he kind of walked that line between being believable and being too cheesy. But in that final scene, it's just way too cheesy. And I don't know if that's because, like that's a way to make it a little less dark because we're literally watching a mob throw a man off the roof. But just like the nonsense he's spouting that he has to know is meaningless at this point just completely took me out of the moment.
Yeah, it was literally the borderline. If they would have taken it even less seriously than they already were, he would have just literally been shouting, "This is right up. You'll be hearing from my solicitors."
It's in a way, you could argue it almost feels a bit Monty Python in a way.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
it feels like something that would work much better on Monty Python and actually be humorous, as opposed to just really kind of semi-awkward and in a serious moment in Doctor Who.
That's what it was. It was a Monty Python scene. I 100% agree.
And they forgot to add the extra clips of other people getting yeeted out of a window and a tally being marked on the chalkboard. On the other side of the chalkboard is pigs.
Because now that I make the distinction, I'm like, God, now this just reminds me of Meaning of Life, where they actually do have those old guys killing a bunch of bankers and stuff.
Thankfully, we have made plans in case the opening cinematic tried to interfere with the movie, and the tower crushes the building.
So it looks like Randy had to reboot his computer, so I guess we'll go ahead with Thomas's final thoughts.
Yep.
Well, you're not dying.
This was kind of interesting because I feel like I remember well before watching this, hearing that there were right-leaning politics in this somewhere, and having watched it, I'm like, if there is, it's so subtle that I just can't see it, because this does feel very, like, even as Bill said, either within the podcast or before we started, there's very, like, they're literally seizing the means of production and all that stuff. So it's just
it's almost borderline socialist, although one does hope that they don't go that far.
I came this close to using the phrase "seize the means of production" in the summary, and I decided not to.
Yeah, that's not a good idea. Let's lay off of that.
But yeah, it's.
Don't get me wrong. I understand they're overthrowing a really corrupt, possibly capitalist system, but
I mean, the workers literally do seize the means of production, though. So it's.
Yeah, like. It was, and I also said before we started, like, it's not really, like, having watched it twice now, it's not really surprising that this is Louise Jameson's favorite story in all of Doctor Who, and just in her run in general anyway, because she actually has a lot to do.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, I'm back, guys. Sorry about that.
Okay, the Thomas finish, and then we'll get back to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, my Discord crashed, and then when I started it up again, it had a billion updates to install.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, like, this is interesting. I would definitely recommend people check this out. Some of the acting here and there can be a bit iffy, but again, it's also Doctor Who, and they get, like, so little actual time to do anything. And I'm always fairly forgiving of, like, I mean, Louise Jameson said that those guns that they're carrying around are literally made of cardboard. And it's like, yep, that's Doctor Who for you.
That's Doctor Who.
So,
the sets to wobble, the guns will.
But yeah, I would definitely say this one is worth checking out.
Right.
So going backtracking a little bit, Randy, your least favorite scene.
I think it's where Leela gets shot.
Oh, yeah, that was a little bit awkward, too.
Yeah, it was, because you don't really see her get shot. You just see her yell and drop.
Yell, drop, and I think grab her forehead for, like, a split second.
But you really never see who shoots her or anything.
Don't really see who shoots her, and the other guys are just literally sitting in the car for 5 minutes going, we can't get to her. Even though they're bigger, obvious targets sitting there in the car than they would be scurrying across the ground while opening fire to keep them off.
I kind of let that slide to a bit on the second go round, because I realized they're still being affected by that anxiety stuff.
That is a possibility too, to be honest, to be fair. But there's the little column B there.
Mine was mostly the shooting itself.
But yeah, the shooting was really choppy.
Yeah. It was like maybe they had tried something, failed, and the director just said, just cut it out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
quite possibly.
Yeah, I think with all of those guns, it's really just like some smoke comes out the end, and that's it, to signify that they've shot, so you never actually know which direction they're really shooting in.
Yeah, I know, but they could have had a special effect or something.
Yeah. Like with K9's little beam and stuff.
It just felt awkwardly cut too. Anyway, because you don't see her fall off the vehicle either.
Yeah, you see her like lean up to the side, and all of a sudden she's on the ground.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm nitpicking on that, but yeah.
Yeah, most of these have been nitpicks, to be honest. Least favorite scenes.
Anyway, so that's my opinion. Go forward. I take it you're at final thoughts.
Final thoughts. Thomas just did. So me next.
Yep.
Yep.
So final thoughts for me. Yeah, most of my problems with this are nitpicks. I think a lot of the acting in here is really good. I think a majority of this plot, considering it was just a Rage Against the tax man, is actually really well done. A lot of the visual effects are really well done. I only questioned the canine effect a little bit with his nose beam, but at the same time, I'm like, it's the 70s. They didn't always have the time to like make the beam look a little bit better, and they were on a tight budget considering everything else they had going on in this episode. So I can't really hold it against them. Although I could nowadays fix that effect up in like 30 minutes, but
Yeah,
that's
but
nowadays.
that's 50 years later.
Yeah. Well, that's about 50 years later. You could fix that effect now, but for what it was back then, I understand what the issue is. Doctor Who's always had a budget issue, but the rest of the visual effects are really well done. But as I was saying, the acting's really good. The story's pretty well done. There's little nitpicks here and there, but I'm not sure it's enough to lower my score yet. I'm deciding yet. But that's the majority of my thoughts on it. I still really like this episode. This is my second time through it. Bill.
Okay. Going into the episode, I was a little unsure what message they were going to be trying to send. That's because while this had a very much, workers' rights, the workers are being abused. Dimension of taxes, especially in the United States, usually when taxes are brought up, it's basically we want to lower taxes for the rich. And the rich are being mistreated. Stop mistreating the rich. So I was wondering where they were going with that. But really, other than a lot of the kind of innuendos about taxes, they kind of move away from the taxes after the beginning and make it a little bit more about the debt and the oppression and the oppressive conditions, which are very much more of a capitalism thing than the taxes thing. So in the end, the message ended up being a lot more cohesive than it seemed like it was going to be in the beginning. So that was my biggest concern, and I think it was assuaged. But it was definitely came out to be a solid episode. What Thomas said about them trying to keep Tom and Luis apart makes a lot of sense when you look at how the plot turned out, with them constantly running back and forth. But I think they did a good job of building up the world, keeping it interesting. Of course, a lot of the building was borrowed from 1984 and Brave New World, so that probably helped in writing the episode. But I think it came out to be a pretty solid product. It came out with a lot more conclusive ending than 1984 did, at least. I haven't finished Brave New World to know how the plot of that turned out.
Depressing.
But yeah, I think it's pretty good episode. I think it hit a lot of marks without really failing in any major categories. So, thumbs up there. That's it for me.
All right, Matt, you said that you could fix this easy. I would like to see you try to do that on a Trash 80.
Yeah, that'd be the problem. I only have Adobe.
Yeah, the Trash 80 was the new computer that came out the year this aired. To show you how long ago
I would have to have a couple months experience with it to know how far it could go. Probably.
Not very.
Yeah, that'd be my assumption.
You know what else came out the same year?
Mm.
The Apple II.
Oof. Yeah. Like I said, I'm not holding it too hard against it. I just felt like the canine effect in particular was not the strongest, and we had a lot of stronger effects throughout. So, beggars can't be choosers, especially when you're on a tight budget.
And if you think they had Apple IIs or Trash 80s at the BBC, no.
No, if you thought if you thought they had top end computers for visuals back then, you're kidding yourself.
Yep. Anyway, I remember being bored by this episode, kid. I remember I was probably distracted by something else, but it just didn't seem to grab my attention. I didn't have that problem this time. I watched this episode. I streamed it from BritBox, and I just sat there and I watched the whole thing, and I enjoyed every second of it. I'm like, why didn't I enjoy this as a kid? But God, no, I liked every moment of this. I was sitting here trying to think of, a least favorite scene while I was trying to restart my Discord, and I wasn't coming up with anything till the last second. I'm like, okay, that bit was a little bit hokey. But no, other than that, I was like, episode 1, nope, I liked everything there. Episode 2 was freaking great. Episode, it's like I'm running through and it's like I'm not finding anything because there's nothing wrong. The acting is all great. Yes, the one guy was a little over the top, but I can forgive that, actually, considering his role is to basically kiss up to the collector or sit there and basically piss off everybody else.
Cackle while counting his money.
The directing is mostly okay, except for that one scene. Special effects are 1977. I don't give them that much, but for what they worked well. Costuming was pretty good.
Oh yeah, the costume is actually pretty on point for this, all considering too.
All in all, this wrapped into a good episode, better than I thought it would be for Robert Holmes basically writing a retaliatory thing against his taxes. So yeah, I was very thrilled with what I got. Highly recommended. Well, let's see how we rate this baby, shall we? Let me see. Season 15. Okay. Who did I have first? Was it Thomas?
Thomas.
Yeah.
Yes.
I guess one additional thing. Apparently, Louise Jameson claims that seemingly directly from Robert Holmes, there was implications that this actually might have been about the BBC itself, which is kind of funny to think about, treating the collector and the gatherer as analogs for maybe higher ups in the BBC,
That
or just
sounds
like the whole praise the company
for
shit.
the
like, I could maybe
controller
say.
and then the
Yeah.
that sounds like a Robert Holmes thing to do.
That's not.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not. There's a
Yeah.
lot of things you could take away from this as ideas as to what this is actually all about. All considering.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is a
either
sign of how
way,
well it's written.
Yeah. I feel like there's been ones before where just, even though I've struggled to find things wrong with it, that I'll ultimately bring the score down because it just still didn't connect with me as much. In this case, I feel like I can't justify that, so I'm giving this a 5.
All right. Matt?
I've been arguing with myself too the entire hour, and honestly, I can't find a reason not to give this a 5. I
Bill?
really like this one. This is still a good one.
And yeah, my score is also sitting in that 4.75 range area, so I'll agree with the 5.
We are agreed.
Oh,
Well, there you go. No matter what else happens, we got one new addition to the 5 club.
All right. So
we got one addition to the top 5.
Robert Holmes is Robert Holmes.
So actually, this will put this at number 9,
Ooh.
where
Almost got
it
a full
is
top 10.
on par with The Caves of Androzani,
Robert Holmes.
Remembrance of the Daleks, Face of Evil, Battlefield, Human Nature, Family of Blood, The Doctor's Wife, and Turn Left. It is better than The Pirate Planet, An Unearthly Child minus the Tribe of Gum, and Doctor Who and the Silurians, and it is at the top rank, so it doesn't have anything it's not as good as.
Yeah.
So there we go, number 9, out of what is a total of 368 things reviewed. That is a highly good ranking for the Sunmakers.
I didn't realize we rated Spearhead from Space so low.
What did it get?
I thought it was near it's 4.3. I thought it was near 5.
Somebody must have not liked it.
Yeah, somebody. I have no idea because I'm trying to go back to
Nope.
where we.
Randy, Matt, and Aaron weren't all gave it a 4.0.
Oh.
But anyway, that's off topic. Okay.
Yeah.
So Randy finished his spiel, right?
Yep. That's up to you,
Yep.
Bill. Now.
All right.
Close
So
it.
yep. So if those listening, please make sure to comment below if you've seen this episode. Let us know what you think, what you think the score should have been. Don't forget to like or dislike the video, depending on how you feel, and to subscribe if you want to keep getting our YouTube exports, or follow us on Twitch to get our live streams of the podcast every Wednesday night.
All right. So next week we will continue the Fourth Doctor serials we've yet to review. We are going to conclude season 15 and say goodbye to Leela with Underworld. Written by Bob Baker and Dave Martin, and starring Tom Baker as the Doctor, Louise Jameson as Leela, and John Leeson as the voice of K9. See you next week.
Good night.